And finally, new rule, let's look on the bright side. I know we're all obsessed these days about the fires and the anxiety from Trump taking office again, but one hopeful thing did happen when we were on our break.
In his signature satirical style, Bill Maher opens with a tongue-in-cheek reflection on the current political climate, where anxieties about Donald Trump's potential return to office dominate public discourse. Amidst the chaos and division, Maher ironically highlights a so-called bright side, prompting viewers to question what could possibly be construed as hopeful in such turbulent times. His commentary underscores the absurdity and polarization that often define modern politics, leaving audiences to ponder. When did our standards for optimism sink so low? By framing the discussion this way, Maher challenges listeners to reconsider the narratives they consume and the ways in which societal frustrations manifest. What does it say about us when even the darkest humor feels like a relief?
They're stupid. I don't know what they're teaching them in college these days, but they all seem to have majored in simplicity. Oppressed and oppressor, no in between. Healthcare, good guys and bad guys. Simple. When Trump said nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated, he was wrong. It's not complicated. It's simple. It's as simple as shooting your insurance agent.
Bill Maher's commentary reflects growing frustrations with America's polarized political climate, where complex issues get reduced to simplistic narratives. His critique of younger generations' black and white worldview echoes Donald Trump's infamous claim that nobody knew healthcare could be so complicated, though, with an ironic twist. Where Trump revealed his own policy ignorance, Maher suggests today's youth err in the opposite direction, pretending complicated systems can be solved through villainizing bad guys like insurance executives. This generational tension mirrors broader political divisions. Trump's populist rhetoric often simplified complex issues into us vs them battles, while his administration struggled with policy details. Similarly, some progressive movements today frame systemic problems as clear moral conflicts needing radical solutions. Maher warns this dangerous oversimplification risks justifying extreme actions while failing to address root causes. The comedian's critique, though characteristically hyperbolic, touches on a real challenge in modern discourse. From Trump's reductive slogans to activist demands for immediate revolution, American politics increasingly rewards simplicity over nuance. As Maher suggests, the healthcare system's problems won't be solved by scapegoating any one group, whether insurance, CEOs, hospital administrators, or drug companies. True reform requires grappling with the system's inherent complexities that resist easy solutions.
But here, put yourself in the shoes of somebody who doesn't follow politics that closely. And they're the Venezuelan gang members. Why are we even arguing about this? They shouldn't be in this country.
Bill Maher's commentary highlights a recurring tension in American politics, the disconnect between legal processes and public perception. His rhetorical question about judicial authority versus executive action reflects a broader frustration many Americans feel when complex constitutional checks and balances collide with demands for immediate solutions. By adopting what he calls his stupid voice, Maher satirizes how average citizens might view the situation, seeing deportation orders as straightforward common sense, while judicial interventions appear as unnecessary obstacles. This taps into a fundamental challenge in democratic governance. How do we reconcile expert systems and legal nuance with the public's desire for simple, decisive action? The scenario Maher describes reveals a dangerous gap in civic understanding, where the judiciary's role as a check on executive power becomes misunderstood as obstruction rather than constitutional duty. His framing begs the question: when political messaging reduces complex issues to emotional appeals, does democracy suffer from this oversimplification?
This guy's finally doing something about it. He's kicking them out. And one judge told him to stop? Well, what law is this that any judge anywhere I don't know why I'm using that accent, but I went into my stupid voice. But why is it that one judge anywhere can say, oh, a president can't do this? I mean, that's something that's a little abstruse to a lot of people.
Ultimately, Maher's bit works because it captures a real political dynamic, the appeal of strongman solutions versus the messy realities of constitutional governance. But his satire also serves as warning. When we stop valuing the complexities that prevent authoritarian overreach, we risk undermining the very systems designed to protect democratic rights. The crucial question remains: how can political discourse better bridge the gap between legal complexity and public understanding without sacrificing constitutional principles for the sake of rhetorical simplicity?
I already saw a guy puking in the street. No, I did. It was my stockbroker. I said, what's the matter? He said, I'm sick of winning. Yeah, the stock market. Stock market has lost $5 trillion in 3 weeks. Yes, Trump, he's the Ozempic of the economy.
In this segment, Bill Maher kicks off with a darkly humorous anecdote about encountering a man vomiting on the street, whom he reveals to be his stockbroker. This sets the stage for a biting commentary on the chaotic state of the economy. The stockbroker's explanation, that he's sick of winning, is a sarcastic jab, likely referencing overly optimistic promises of economic success that have soured into a grim reality. Maher then pivots to the staggering claim that the stock market has shed $5 trillion in just 3 weeks, a figure that underscores a dramatic financial downturn. He ties this economic turmoil to Trump, dubbing him the Ozempic of the economy. This metaphor is loaded. Ozempic, a drug known for rapid weight loss, implies here that Trump's policies or leadership style are causing a swift, perhaps unhealthy, shedding of economic value, drastic, visible, and not necessarily beneficial in the long term. Maher's tone blends incredulity with mockery, painting a picture of a market in freefall and a leader whose influence is both disruptive and counterproductive. The humor serves as a vehicle for his critique, amplifying the absurdity he perceives in the situation. What do you think Maher means by comparing Trump to Ozempic, beyond the surface-level economic weight loss analogy? Is he suggesting something deeper about Trump's approach or the consequences of his decisions?
Yeah, I mean, when Biden was president, it was everything about the eggs, the price of eggs. We got to lower the price of eggs. And now Trump retweeted somebody last week who said, shut up about the eggs. And Americans are like, but we need eggs. What else are we going to throw at the Teslas?
Bill Maher dives into a satirical riff on economic priorities and public sentiment, contrasting the Biden and Trump eras with a focus on something as mundane yet symbolic as eggs. He recalls how, under Biden, the national conversation seemed fixated on the price of eggs, a stand-in for everyday affordability and kitchen table issues that dominated political discourse. It's a nod to a time when inflation and grocery costs were the yardstick of economic success, with eggs as the poster child for consumer woes. Maher then fast-forwards to Trump's influence, pointing out a shift in tone. Trump amplifying a call to shut up about the eggs via retweet suggests a dismissal of those granular concerns, perhaps reflecting a broader rejection of Biden-era talking points or a push toward grander, less tangible economic promises. Yet Maher flips this into comedy gold with the public's bewildered response, Americans clinging to their egg obsession, not out of necessity but as ammunition to lob at Teslas. This absurd image of egg throwing at luxury electric cars ties together economic frustration, class resentment, and a jab at tech elite excess, all wrapped in Maher's signature irreverence. The eggs evolve from a practical worry into a weapon of protest, hinting at a populace fed up with lofty rhetoric and disconnected leadership. Maher's humor here is layered. He's mocking the triviality of political fixations, the volatility of public mood, and the surreal intersection of economic policy and cultural symbols. It's a snapshot of a nation grappling with shifting priorities, where even something as simple as an egg becomes a punchline and a projectile. What do you think Maher's egg motif reveals about how he views the disconnect between political leaders and everyday Americans? Does it suggest a deeper cynicism about whether either administration truly grasped the public's real concerns?
And every day he plays, let's spin the big tariff wheel. Woo! Round and around she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. And every day, Trump puts these amazingly large tariffs on other countries, and when the countries respond with their tariffs, he acts shocked at their disrespect. How dare you do to me what I just did to you?
Bill Maher takes aim at Trump's economic strategy with a vivid, game show-style metaphor, casting him as a reckless host, spinning a tariff wheel with unpredictable outcomes. This imagery paints Trump's approach as a chaotic gamble, where massive tariffs are imposed daily on other nations like a whimsical, high-stakes spin, leaving everyone, markets, businesses, and global partners, guessing where the damage will land. Maher's tone drips with sarcasm as he highlights the sheer scale of these tariffs, framing them as bold, almost theatrical moves that disrupt the global economic order. Then comes the twist. When other countries retaliate with their own tariffs, Trump's feigned shock and indignation, "How dare you do to me what I just did to you," becomes the punchline. Maher skewers this reaction as hypocritical and absurd, suggesting a leader oblivious to the basic cause and effect of international trade. The humor lies in the exaggerated innocence, as if Trump expects unilateral action without consequence, revealing a mix of naivety and bravado. This critique extends beyond personality to policy, implying that such tariff wars spiral into mutual economic harm, with no clear winner, just a dizzying cycle of retaliation. Maher's game show analogy amplifies the sense of randomness and spectacle, contrasting it with the real-world stakes of jobs, prices, and global relations. It's a biting take on leadership that thrives on disruption, but balks at accountability, wrapped in his trademark blend of wit and exasperation. What do you think Maher's tariff wheel metaphor suggests about his view of Trump's economic foresight, or lack thereof? Does it imply a broader skepticism about whether such policies can deliver on their promises, or is it more a jab at the execution? Shifting gears from economic chaos to international relations.
There's a lot of new stuff that's going on, but one thing we've known about Trump for quite a while is that in the world, the countries that we traditionally liked, like England and France, those kind of places, he doesn't really like. And the people that we traditionally didn't like Saudi Arabia and Russia, he likes.
Bill Maher digs into a long-standing trait of Trump's worldview, his apparent disdain for America's traditional allies. He points out a pattern that's been evident for years, where countries like England and France, long-standing pillars of Western camaraderie, don't seem to earn Trump's favor. Maher's delivery carries a wry, almost resigned tone, as if this quirk is both predictable and perplexing, a known quantity that still defies conventional logic. These nations, typically seen as cultural and political kin, are cast aside in Trump's orbit, suggesting a rejection of the diplomatic norms that have historically bound the U.S. to Europe. Maher doesn't spell out why, whether it's personal grudges, a populist streak, or a strategic pivot, but the implication is clear. Trump's preferences lean away from the familiar, cozy alliances toward something less orthodox, perhaps more transactional or confrontational. The humor here is subtle, leaning on the absurdity of snubbing friends like England and France, names that evoke a certain old-world charm and reliability. It's a critique wrapped in an observation, hinting at a broader disruption of global trust and cooperation under Trump's watch. Maher's choice to frame this as something we've known for quite a while adds a layer of fatigue, as if the audience should be past surprise, but still finds the stance noteworthy. This segues neatly from his tariff tirade, tying economic recklessness to a foreign policy that alienates rather than unites. What do you think Maher's focus on Trump's dislike for traditional allies reveals about his take on Trump's global leadership style? Is he suggesting it's a deliberate break from tradition, or just an impulsive quirk with bigger consequences?
So this is not new, but it has changed so fast, especially after that Oval Office meeting last week with Zelensky, that the government has decided they're going to have to do what governments have done over the years, most famously in World War II. They put out patriotic posters because you have to get the people on board with what you're trying to get them to do. Yes, remember those, we can do it, and I want you for the army, and loose lips, all this stuff to exhort the people. So now we have to get them on the page of these are our old friends or our new enemies, and vice versa.
Turning from Trump's strained relations with traditional allies, Bill Maher zeroes in on a rapid shift in the geopolitical landscape, spotlighting a recent Oval Office meeting with Zelensky as a tipping point. He suggests that this encounter, presumably tense or pivotal, has jolted the government into action, forcing a rethink of how to rally public support amid changing alliances. Maher draws a historical parallel, likening the current moment to World War II, when governments leaned on patriotic posters to unify citizens behind a cause. He evokes iconic imagery, "We can do it," "I want you for the army," "loose lips," to conjure a time when propaganda was a blunt, effective tool for mobilizing a nation. The nostalgia isn't just for laughs. It underscores his point that today's leaders face a similar challenge, convincing a fragmented populace to buy into a new narrative about friends and foes. Maher implies that the Zelensky meeting exposed a need to reframe global relationships. Old friends might now be liabilities, new enemies might emerge, or vice versa, and the government's dusting off an old playbook to sell it. His tone blends skepticism with a nod to necessity, hinting that such overt messaging feels both quaint and urgent in a fast-moving crisis. The vice versa twist adds a layer of ambiguity. Alliances are flipping so quickly that even the government might be scrambling to keep up. It's a commentary on both the speed of change and the timeless struggle to align public sentiment with policy, delivered with Maher's knack for finding the absurd in the serious. This builds on his earlier jabs at Trump's foreign policy quirks, suggesting a broader unraveling that now demands a full-on PR campaign. What do you think Maher's reference to WW2-era posters says about his view on the government's ability to shape public opinion today?